Hey everyone, before we start the show, I just want to get some plugs out of the way. If you enjoy this podcast and you're into wrestling, check out the Nerds and Marks podcast or Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling. If you're not getting your fill on movie and entertainment discussion, then check out the Entertainment Buffet podcast. If you want to dive into the world of video games, I highly recommend the Darkcast by my friends over at darkstation.com. Listen to them cover important topics and interview men and women from all over the industry. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Hello everyone and welcome to Shelved. I am your host, Jeremy Meyer. So we got another Monday morning mini episode here. So we got a few things to talk about. So we're going to talk about the script that we're going to be discussing on Friday, which this one is one I'm pretty fucking interested in talking about. This week's script is Halloween 3D. Now, this is essentially what would have been the third Rob Zombie movie. It picks up directly where Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 leaves off. Now, I know a lot of people have some feelings about the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. I will say I legitimately love the first one. I love his hardcore, gritty directing style on that first Halloween movie. Now, I didn't see the second one. When it came out, I heard... I'm not like a huge fan of slasher movies to begin with, but I have a history with the Halloween movies that I will discuss on Friday's episode. And I didn't see the second one because I just kind of heard a lot of bad things about it when it came out. I would like to go back and watch it. Maybe if I can squeeze it in this week before we record the episode. But yeah, so I know a lot of people have kind of down feelings about the second one. And I don't know if anybody would have liked to have seen a third one, and maybe that's why this never got made. But so far from what I've read of the script at this point, it's very interesting. I think anybody who was a fan of Halloween could find it interesting because already I'm like 40 pages in, and it really shakes things up. So I definitely would have liked to have seen, from what I've seen so far, this movie get made. The only problem is the name is Halloween 3D, so there's obviously a lot of emphasis on 3D. And I mean, at the time, that was pretty popular. The script is dated 2009, so it was around the time for Avatar. So a lot of like cheesy 3D gimmicks written right into the script. But we'll discuss all that on Friday. But the script is Halloween 3D, and you'll be able to find that on our Tumblr, shelvedfilmpodcast.tumblr.com, as you can find all of our scripts we discuss for the show. Now we have something else to cover. The Star Wars The Last Jedi trailer came out Friday, was it? I've watched it so many times I can't even remember when it came out. But it is, so this is just a teaser. It doesn't show us a whole lot, but it is our first look that we get at the movie. Now, I haven't really talked about Star Wars much on the podcast, aside from we did a Star Wars episode, but we didn't cover any of the really new stuff. I think I did a review of Rogue One a while ago, which I loved Rogue One. I'm one of those people that puts it right up there with Empire Strikes Back. It's probably tied for first for my favorite Star Wars movie with The Empire Strikes Back. But Episode 7, The Force Awakens, I didn't love it as much as a lot of other Star Wars fans seem to. I'd put it about fourth in my ranking, maybe. It's really good. I mean, I love every Star Wars movie, even the prequels. But I don't know. Force Awakens, it just like I was such a huge fan of the Star Wars books and where that canon went, and this one just goes in a completely different direction. There were things I really loved about the Force Awakens, but there were things that kind of bugged me and ate at me inside. And the more I saw it, the more it just kind of bugged me. Like all the similarities to A New Hope, I definitely find those kind of annoying, just rehashing some of the same stuff. They do it well, and they do it to make it feel different. Like I didn't even notice originally the first time. But like as I saw it and as I saw people talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, this is just kind of the same movie. For me, it's like I love the first half, I love the last half, and the middle half is kind of where it loses me a little bit. Like, I don't like the way Han Solo and Chewbacca are introduced into the movie. That whole segment on his ship, I think, could have been just pulled out completely and just rewrite that little section. I really didn't like Starkiller Base and how powerful it was. The fact that they wipe out like multiple planets with one blast, and it's kind of just shrugged off, even though they destroyed Coruscant, like the most important planet in the entire galaxy at the time. And they essentially killed the Republic, and it's never really addressed. It's just like now the Resistance is on their own, but that's a huge fucking deal. And it's the same how people complain like, oh, like nobody mourned Han Solo at the end. Like, yeah, I get it. Like nobody mourned the Republic either. So yeah, that stuff does bother me, but I loved all the new characters. I really love Kylo Ren, and I can't wait to see more of him. And the trailer gives us just a little bit of examples of this stuff. So, we see Rey and Luke training, and we see some kind of just random shots of characters. We got Finn back. We got a good shot of Kylo Ren. You see the scar that he was left with by Rey. A lot of really cool imagery with some voiceover from Luke, who we didn't even see talk in the last movie. And the kicker at the end is him saying that he believes it's time for the Jedi to end. Now, we've all seen probably the analyzation of the title, where Jedi is technically a plural word, and because of the way the foreign titles are labeled, it's implied that the last Jedi means, the last few Jedi. And so what are we supposed to take about Luke saying this? My interpretation, I'm going to throw out some wild theories. Like, my biggest wild theory is that Luke turns to the dark side, which I know is a pretty common theory. Another theory could be that Rey turns to the dark side, which I think any one of these could be interesting, and maybe Finn is the one who has to step up and be the true hero for the last movie, which is not completely unprecedented. They've definitely borrowed some stuff from Star Wars canon, and that's something like one of the Solo twins turned to the dark side like way later in a later series like Star Wars Legacy or whatever. And so, like, it's not completely unheard of. Maybe Kylo Ren gets seduced back to the light side. These are all crazy, wild theories, but who fucking knows, But yeah, I mean, the idea is Luke is so hurt by what happened with Kylo Ren and him killing all of his apprentices, and maybe he just is a broken man and doesn't see that the Jedi should continue. If they bring balance to the Force, then maybe they should disappear as well. Which I can totally see somebody who's gone through a horrible tragedy and living in isolation for 30 years kind of thinking that way. I mean, this guy has been alone on this planet as far as we know. Is he going to be kind of crazy the way Yoda was when he was in isolation and we come to him in Empire and he's just a maniac? I mean, I don't know. Another theory is that line about the Jedi having to end feels like to me, looks like it's pretty early on in the movie. I don't know how much time they're going to spend on that planet where she's training. But it seems maybe that's part of like the first 20 minutes of the movie where she's trying to convince him to train her. And maybe it's just kind of being played up in the trailer as like a much bigger moment to keep the mystery. I could easily see that being the case. But I mean, the trailer was awesome. I've watched it like 6 times. And it's a teaser. It doesn't show much the same way the Force Awakens teaser didn't show a whole lot. It was basically just like, hey, here's the Millennium Falcon and here's a burned Vader helmet. It's the same. It's almost literally the same, because instead of a burned Vader helmet, we got a crushed Kylo Ren helmet. But I'm excited. It's the first footage we've gotten to see from the movie, and we get the smallest hint of the story. And I'm very interested to see where it's going to go. I'm a Star Wars fan for life, so I will see anything Star Wars. But yeah, I guess that's all I really have to say about the trailer. It's a teaser. I'm going to watch it about 100 more times until the official trailer comes out. It definitely made me want. So I never read all of the like new Jedi Order series in the books, and this is kind of kickstarted my love for Star Wars again and made me want to go back and start reading some of those again. I want to get through that whole series, which is like 19 books or something like that. I own like the first 3 or 4, but I'm going to try to get through those. But yeah, so that's all I got to say about the trailer. Again, we're going to be talking about Halloween 3D this weekend, or this Friday, I guess. I always consider Friday the weekend. I know that's not right, because technically we still work, but to me it's the beginning of the weekend. Yeah, and so I'm really excited to talk about that script. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I've mentioned this before on some of the other mini episodes. I've been putting together a top 10 list of just some kind of random top 10s, like favorite films, favorite characters, favorite villains, blah, blah, blah. And just to like kind of fill some content on these mini episodes. I've got a couple completely listed, but I'm not going to start doing those today because I still want to hear from you guys. I want some weird top 10s, like whatever you got. I want you to send them to me at shelvedfilmpodcast@gmail.com, or you could send them to me on Twitter at shelvedpodcast. Just give me top 10s, top 10 fucking movie cars. I don't care what it is. The weirder you get, the more fun it'll be. And I think the more fun it'll be to discuss on the show. And even if you want to include your top 10 with the list you send, so I can bounce mine off yours and we can see where we meet up at. But I love doing top 10 lists, and I've been coming up with some of my own, and I'm probably going to start doing those in a couple weeks here just to have some more fun discussion. But I definitely want to hear from you guys. So again, that email, shelvedfilmpodcast@gmail.com, or just send them to me on Twitter at shelvedpodcast. And don't forget to rate and review the show on iTunes. It helps with the algorithms, bumps the show up in the ratings so more people can find it. I love interacting with you guys on Twitter and all the feedback you've been leaving. I feel really blessed from all the responses I've been getting on this show. So thanks for that. And be sure to come back on Friday when we discuss Halloween 3D. And thanks for listening.